The beloved Dr. Seuss versus Hitler. Unfortunately, in our culture today, Hitler is the one who wins in that fight. But if you don't want to sit back and take that any longer, you'd like to find out ways to combat this kind of wickedness with the principles of God's kingdom, then you're in the right place. Kick back and welcome to the revolution. Welcome back, everyone. We are going to dive into some content today that I hope people will find exciting and a little bit different. We're going to shift gears and allow our podcast to be primarily focused on really breaking open the scriptures and breaking down kingdom principles more in a Christian light. We are going to do some more long-form stuff, but this video and videos like it are going to be about addressing culture, politics, things of that nature. We're going to do these videos as long as you guys like them, so give us a thumbs up, subscribe on good old YouTube, and comment as to whether this is the kind of content you'd like to see, you'd like to hear, you'd like to have more of it, because that's what's going to drive whether we do it and how much we do it. We'll probably start once a week, something like that, but if you like it, we can kick that up and get more involved with the discussion. This time around, though, we are going to something very interesting. I saw an article in the Daily Wire, great source of news and information. The New York Public Library says it will not pull 6 controversial Dr. Seuss books from shelves, and instead will keep the books in circulation until the existing copies are worn out. The spokesperson or the spokeswoman for the library said that it does not censor books and will keep the controversial titles in circulation. So I have to give it to the New York Public Library for not caving to some of the pressure. In case you don't know what's going on in our extremely left, crazy, woke society, people have decided that there are 6 Dr. Seuss books that are horribly racially offensive, and they should be removed from circulation. This, of course, is absolute madness and insanity. And we need to realize and see what's going on kind of behind the scenes. On the surface, this is like who cares, whatever, on to the next thing. But that's exactly what the powers that be want you to think, because democracy dies in darkness. And the price of freedom, right, the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And we have to be vigilant in order to maintain the society that I believe God granted through the founding fathers of this nation. This is this whole cancel culture thing, canceling things that people don't like, going back, 50 or 100 years, and we don't like what this person said or stood for 100 years ago, even though they're a historical figure. We need to erase them from history, erase them from our minds, erase them from the public discourse. Total and utter nonsense, but this is exactly how totalitarian regimes really start to flex their muscles. They eliminate culture, they eliminate history. We have to stand against it, even if we disagree with certain things. Right? There's stuff out there that's offensive to me as a father, or as a husband, or as a Christian, highly offensive. But I don't necessarily want to go on a campaign to completely destroy and erase them from the face of the earth. This isn't relegated to Dr. Seuss. Speedy Gonzalez and Pepe Le Pew, they're on the chopping block as well. Gabriel Iglesias is a comedian. He goes by the name Fluffy, and he is the voice, or supposed to be the voice, of Speedy Gonzalez in the upcoming Space Jam Part 2 movie that is going to have LeBron James and stuff in it. I probably won't watch it. LeBron James is super woke, and I really don't want to support that kind of crazy, insane nonsense. We'll have to see. It sounds like maybe Gabriel Iglesias might have a head on his shoulders, so maybe they balance each other out. I loved the original Space Jam with Michael Jordan. You remember that? It was like, yeah, man, when I was a kid, I loved that movie. Anyway, Gabriel Iglesias, this is according to a couple of, I think it was originally came about because of a New York Times article, but this is in news.com and the New York Post.com. Gabriel Iglesias, his family hails from Mexico, so he's actually got actual real Mexican descent. He took to Twitter to defend the character and his role. This is what he had to say. I am the voice of Speedy Gonzalez in the new Space Jam. Does this mean they are going to try to cancel Fluffy too? Right, that's his comedian personality. You can't catch me, cancel culture. I'm the fastest mouse in all of Mexico. Little jab there, I think. The 44-year-old actor tweeted on the weekend. Now, this whole thing came about, again, because we're just, people are bending over backward to find out if they can, who can be more of a victim, who can come up with more egregious things in the culture, right? This is why Disney, ridiculous, right? Things like Peter Pan, because of the Indians that are in there on the island. What? I mean, what? That's offensive? My great-grandmother was full-blown Cherokee. It's completely inoffensive. It is not offensive in any way, shape, or form. What is going on here? What is wrong with our country? But this guy, Charles, I don't know if it's Blau or Blow. It's B-L-O-W. B-L-O-W. So I'll say Charles Blau. Last week discussed how racially insensitive cartoons have endured. What? Racially insensitive cartoons? He talked about the Dr. Seuss stuff and how this is a problematic thing. This is so problematic, right? Speedy Gonzalez, so racially insensitive, and yet a comedian with actual real Mexican heritage is saying it's not offensive, get over it, what's your problem? See how that doesn't make any sense? But on Twitter, he elaborated, this is Charles, he elaborated on his point about Pepe Le Pew, right? This is what he said. He has troubling conduct. He had multiple assaults, touching and kissing repeatedly without consent. This helped teach boys that no didn't really mean no, that it was part of the game, the starting line of a power struggle. It taught overcoming a woman's strenuous, even physical objections was normal, adorable, funny. They didn't even give the woman the ability to speak. Charles, this is what you got out of watching Looney Tunes? Oh, man, I shudder to think what other did you watch Power Rangers? Oh, Lord. What else did you watch? Did you watch Transformers, Voltron? I shudder to think what you got out of all these things. If this is what you got out of watching Pepe Le Pew. I watched Looney Tunes when I was a kid. Never got that out of Pepe Le Pew. Really wasn't one of my favorite characters. I didn't even really care for Bugs Bunny. I liked Daffy Duck. That was my guy. But what are we going to do? We're going to cancel all these people? I mean, Porky the Pig, Elmer Fudd, right? Speech impediments and stuff. Are we going to now say, well, that's offensive to people that have, these different speech impediments, and so we have to cancel these characters? There are not going to be any Looney Tunes left. You know what's loony? They're not going to have any cartoons left. We're going to have like woke cartoons made. That would be the worst thing ever, unless we're like old school MST 3000. Remember that? The Mystery Science Theater, where they'd sit there and they'd watch movies and they'd make fun of the movie the whole time with commentary and stuff. That's the only thing that a woke movie or cartoon is useful for. This is horrible. This is absolute horrendous nonsense. But it gets to something I want to show you here. It's something that I'll tell you. You can see me, but you can't see what I'm seeing. But you can take my word for it. I'm on Amazon right now, and I'm looking, right? The Dr. Seuss books are out of there. There's 6 of them, gone, horrible, racist, terrible content. But oh, look, I can get a copy of Mein Kampf from Adolf Hitler for $16.26. And if I get it in hardcover for $36, it's Prime, free delivery. The Communist Manifesto. Look at that. $8.74 gets you a hardcover on that. Are you kidding me right now? Right? Hitler, one of the most egregious, awful, wicked, terrible human beings that ever walked the face of the planet, has this horrible, wicked book, Mein Kampf. And I can buy that, but I can't get Dr. Seuss books because there's an image on there that somebody who's probably not even the supposed one that is being offended, somebody gets offended by? Something that this is ridiculous. This is total nonsense. But again, it gets to something that I think is serious, because we might be thinking, or you might be thinking, well, I mean, Christians, what does Christians have to do with this? We're saving people's souls. We got bigger things to think about. No, we actually don't have bigger things to think about than when people are trying to get into schools and they're trying to program your children to hold positions and thought processes that are fully in absolute antagonistic resistance to what you supposedly hold to or allegedly hold to as a Christian. What do I mean by this? Well, Speedy Gonzalez and Pepe Le Pew and Dr. Seuss, this gets to a bigger thing: controlling the minds of people, and especially young people. Another article I saw on the Daily Wire with this headline. Here's the headline: New York lawmaker pushes sex ed overhaul, teaching gender identity to 5-year-olds. Gender identity to 5-year-olds? Why in the world is gender identity being taught at all in a public school? Why do we need to have that? The article goes on to describe this certain organization that the standards that it's pushing, as they're currently written, would require teaching on gender identity for 5-year-olds, hormone blockers for transgender people to 8-year-olds. Yeah, that's what 8-year-olds need to be learning. They don't need to be learning reading, writing, and arithmetic, which, of course, we'll do another segment maybe on how those are absolutely racist. I kid you not. Math is racist. Literature, writing papers and stuff, racist. This is horrible, the way our country is going. But 8-year-olds need to be learning about transgender hormone blockers? What? I don't think so. By the age of 11, they're going to be learning things like pansexualism and two-spirit identities. This is insane nonsense. This is what this person, a Democrat senator, state senator Samra G. Brouk, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, B-R-O-U-K, Brouk. This is what she had to say. I'm greatly concerned about the unacceptably high incidence of relationship violence, sexual harassment and assault, and online bullying in our society today. We must equip the next generation with the skills and education they will need to thrive. Okay, so I agree. Violence, harassment, assault, bullying, I agree those are all bad. And I agree that kids should have the skills and education they need to thrive. I agree on both of those. I don't agree with this entire foolish premise that in order to achieve that, we need to teach kids about hormone blockers at the age of 8 and gender identity at the age of 5. How does that follow? It doesn't follow. This is insanity. This is utter nonsense. It doesn't follow at all. It's exactly what people do, though. They throw out a little bit of truth, and then it's like going fishing, right? There's some good food on the end of that hook that's going to get in your jaw, and you're going to be dinner, right? This is exactly what they do. Going back to Pepe Le Pew, where's the evidence? I'm sorry. Who is that famous rapist that their defense in court was, I watched Pepe Le Pew? It's not my fault. It's Pepe Le Pew. Nobody would make that defense. No lawyer would allow that defense for their client. Not if they actually want to help their client. I mean, what ridiculous. What studies have been done showing that there's a link between rape culture and Pepe Le Pew? Okay, I mean, if we're going to go after Pepe Le Pew, if we're going to go after stuff like that, okay, let's talk about some stuff. Okay, how about music? Have you heard 60, 70, 80% of rap songs? There are literally rap artists and rap songs that talk about violating people, killing people, raping people, doing drugs, shooting cops. Those are things that, I don't think parents should be letting their kids listen to. Really, any thinking, rational human being should not be putting that kind of trash in their brain anyway. But even that, to go out and try to end the career of that rapper by dubious means, I'm not sure about that. I think maybe public discourse saying, hey, this person's vile and wicked, just don't listen to their nonsense. But this is what that cancel culture thing does. It actually actively goes out, tries to get people fired, try to really ruin people. And it's ridiculous without any evidence. Where's the evidence that there's a link here? Where's the evidence that there's some kind of link between teaching gender identity to 5-year-olds and hormone blockers to 8-year-olds? Where is the link between that and stopping bullying online? Where is the link between that and reducing relationship violence? There's no link. Where is the link? It's not there. It's just insane propaganda. Okay? Speaking of propaganda, let me boil this down for the people again that might be thinking, well, Christians should be going to church on Sunday and holding their Bibles and worshiping and crying and loving Jesus. We're in the world but not of the world. Jesus said, if you really want to love God, you have to love God with your brain, okay? Your mind, your logic, your reason. And supposedly, we as Christians are about God's business. We are for God and His kingdom and His principles. And an affront to God and His principles is an affront to us. When someone goes after God, hey, we should be people that are like, buddy, I am a member of the body of Christ in this earth. I am the ecclesia up in here, right? Shouldn't that be our attitude? But a lot of Christians, they want to turn their brains off. They just want to go to church and then go be worldly and just buy everything hook, line, and sinker that the world has and just hope they make it to heaven. That is complete. That's not a mentality that a Christian in the Bible would have. So, what kind of we want to be. But look, I'm going to put it in terms that show God versus Satan, okay? Let's boil it down to that if we have to, but it is there, and it is actually the underlying foundational thing. God's first and most sacred institution is the institution of the family. Parents, I'll use the term, rule over their children. They love them, they nurture them, they teach them, they instill values in them, they inculcate hopefully Christian morals into them and Christian duties and these types of things, obligations. Whenever anything tries to tear that down, tear that structure away, remove the roles of the family within the family, they are attacking and destroying what God made. Before He created the church, He created the family. The core building block of all society is the family, the institution of the family. It is sacred. It is of God. And when we as Christians who allegedly love God, love His word, love His principles, I said allegedly, some doing some we could care less, but we should go on the offense, right? The offense. Or defense, however you want to look at it. But we should go after ideologies that try to tear that down. And in this article in The Nation, I think they break it down pretty well. Arguably the most infamous demand of the Communist Manifesto is the abolition of the family. The family, Marx and Engels noted, was where patriarchy, the evil patriarchy, and capitalism worked in tandem to produce willing, alienated workers, where women became little more than instruments of production for the men that lorded over them. Then they go on to talk about the radical queer LGBT politics, right, of the 1960s and 70s, and their critique against the heteronormativity of the family. These different pockets of cultural areas that try to destroy the family. It doesn't matter what pocket it is. If it's we really want divorce because we don't want to have to be stuck to a woman or a man our entire life, and so we want fault-free, no-fault divorce, or if it's over here LGBTQ, we reject God's image. We fully reject the way God made men and women, or whether it doesn't really matter which it is, where it comes from. The issue is we should stand against it. We should act against it. We should speak against it. We should be able to teach and show people, this is wrong. And to do that, we have to use our brains, and we have to honor God with logic and reason and mind, which is one of the things that Jesus said we have to do if we're going to truly love God anyway. But this is not something that's new, and it's not something they hide. You can go to Marxist.org, and they actually have the Communist Manifesto there, and it's right there. The abolition of the family, even the most radical flare up at this infamous proposal of the communists. It's a proposal of the communists. The bourgeois family will vanish as a matter of course when its complement vanishes, and both will vanish with the vanishing of capital. So they want the family to vanish. When they say bourgeois, that's just them using a term that they don't like something, so they call it something else, right? So somebody doesn't like math, they call it racist math. Somebody doesn't like Christians, they'll call them, Christian nationalists. What does that even mean? Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't have to mean anything. They've polluted the term, and then they attach that term to people, right? Every evil world leader that's ever existed, I think, uses this methodology, right? Mao did this. His own comrade, they were a comrade a week ago, but now he's got something against them, so he labels them a revisionist or a nationalist or an imperialist or a capitalist, and then has them, tortured and executed. That's what they do. They take a term, they destroy that term, they get people to hate that term, and then they just label people that they don't like with that term. So this is how things can be racist that has nothing really even to do with race, or this is how things can be, nationalist, whatever. What does that even mean? They're not saying anything about nationalism. They're talking about that's what they do, and they will continue to do. We just need to not be ignorant of how they work. So when they say bourgeois family, they just mean the family, and everybody knows it, and that's why it's a very known, common thing that Marx and Engels, and of course you can just look at how they operated, what they did in their own families, how they operated in society, and how people that took those ideologies of Marxism and everything, and how whole countries have behaved toward the family. It's always very, very consistent. So we should be against anything that tears down the family. We should be against our children being indoctrinated with evil ideology, with ideology that's against God. So, it's interesting in public schools, Dr. Seuss is bad, but learning about LGBTQ is good. Whatever happened to just going and learning math and some biology and literature? Why do kids at school at all need to be getting into LGBTQ anything, transgender anything? Let the parents at home teach the values to the children, because they realize that the average parent, the vast majority of parents, do not ascribe to these things, and the only way they're going to get the next generation to buy into them is to indoctrinate them in school. That's how they do it. They know this. This is why the last point of the Communist Manifesto is free education. They want free education, but they want free education that they control. They don't want to give you money to go to a private school. They don't want to give you a voucher to go to a different public school even. A lot of times. They don't want to support homeschool. Doesn't matter how good the scores are. Doesn't matter. They don't want that. They don't want you to have that for free. They want you to have free education where they're in control of what's being taught, and then therefore they can mind control our kids. So Dr. Seuss, bad. LGBTQ, that's good. Prayer in school, bad. Drag queen story hour, right? Transgenderism, oh, that's good, right? This is what it is. And what Christians need to realize is we need to be consistent in both our views, our internal beliefs, and our actions. Our alleged values and morals should come about in actions, words, stances that we take, actions that we do. So Anytime that we see something tearing down the family, the roles of fathers and mothers, roles of husbands and wives, roles of parents to children, we should be against it. We should speak against it. We should act against it. We should stand against it. What do I mean by stand? Oh, we just stand there with our forehead against it. No, I'll give you a couple of examples. One cultural and the other one political. In culture and entertainment and things like that, we can withhold our money. We can withhold our dollars. I'm not going to watch that show. I'm not going to subscribe to that service. I'm not going to go to the movies and throw money into that movie. It's teaching stuff. It's dropping hints, even if it's not the full blown. It's dropping enough hints. There's stuff going on. I'm not going to have my kids exposed to that, or I'm not going to be a part of that. This is against my God. This is an affront to the God that I supposedly love. He says this. You're teaching this, and I'm going to go give you money? I don't think so. So that's one thing. Cultural. We can make cultural decisions. Places we go, places we don't go. Things we partake in, things we do not partake in. Things we listen to or watch, or you know what I'm saying. Cultural things like entertainment and the arts and things like that. Even business, doing business. Right. The second is in politics. You know, I think if somebody comes to this, I believe in healing virtue. I believe that God still heals and works miracles and things. I think a miracle is rare. That's the nature of a miracle. But I don't believe that God stopped. I think the scriptural argument for that is very, very, very weak. And I'd be happy to have a discussion with someone. Maybe you can change my mind. I'm happy to change my mind. But let's just say for now, somebody comes in, they're a chain smoker. It's obvious. They just got done lighting up, 4 or 5 cigarettes right in a row. And then they're like, hey, I have lung cancer. I want healing. Are you going to pray for them? I mean, I would. You probably would. But are you going to maybe suggest that, hey, there's probably a causal link here between the smoking and the lung cancer? God could certainly, help you out with the lung cancer and heal you, but he's going to want you to, stop smoking, which is causing the lung cancer. Or we could get into things or maybe, other types of ailments and stuff that God could certainly heal, but hey, let's stop doing the thing that's causing the ailment. Well, our society has a cancer. Our society has multiple cancerous things. One of them we could say is abortion. I think it's very obvious that the sanctity of life is something that most moral people adhere to, and yet we make an exception when the mom just decides she wants to kill the kid. That's fine. I mean, what? That makes no sense. But maybe we pray against that. Maybe we read scriptures and we nod our heads in affirmation when somebody says, "Oh, abortion's wrong." Maybe we even go as far as to say something to somebody about abortion being wrong. But then do we go and vote for people that support it? That is us praying against it or praying for the healing and then doing the thing that causes the disease. The politicians that push it, they are the thing causing the disease. Okay? They are the disease. Well, I guess not. The disease is abortion. The mechanism by which it becomes legal is politics. So we should pray, but then we should vote correctly. We should pray, and then we should go and we should say, nope, you're not going to have my support if you dare to challenge my God on these things. Now, this requires things like correct prioritization, right? Tax policy, foreign policy. Unless we're talking foreign policy that's let's go kill everybody else in the world, how open our borders need to be, or how we bring people in, or how much aid we give to another country, that should be way down on the list compared to things like killing babies. Okay? Christians need to, again, use this right here, their minds, to honor God, reason, logic, and we need to rightly prioritize. I got to use my hands a little bit here. It also requires being honest about problems and not adherent and showing fidelity to a political party, but to Jesus Christ. If our political party wavers away from Jesus Christ, then we hang with Jesus. Jesus is the one that we are holding to. Okay? Now, again, I think this is where the disconnect happens. People can be, spiritually minded and they love Scripture and know a lot of Scripture and even very, very prayerful and all this kind of stuff, and yet be horrible citizens of a nation. because they don't make the connection where we're supposed to hold the beliefs, but those beliefs are supposed to lead to actions. If those actions actually happen, we'd be in a much better place. I'll give you an example. If every moral person, I'll just say every Christian, decided we're no longer voting for these charlatans who claim to be Christians, who claim to be Catholics, who claim to be moral, who claim to be, again, you can be an atheist and claim to be moral, but you believe in abortion, you're a charlatan. I think we need to say, hey, if every Christian in this country said, you know what, we're done, we're not voting for them anymore, all of a sudden, first there'd be a drastic positive change in the country, I think, but all of a sudden you'd find all these Democrats that are pro-life all of a sudden. Well, that was weird how they changed their position. But that's what we should do as a group, as a society, as a voting bloc. Christians should start to say, you know what, we're going to take action on what we believe. We're not just going to keep what we believe over in the church, which is what they want us to do, and not let it creep over into life. So, unfortunately, the score is Hitler 1, Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss throwing lightning bolts. Hitler 1, Dr. Seuss 0. But once again, we need an uprising in this country, a revolution, a resistance of people that are moral, people that are of the Christian persuasion. We need to start being heard. We need to start taking action. So, welcome to the revolution.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hope you enjoyed that content from BreadBreakers. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. Definitely follow us on social media. We're going to throw up a couple of suggestions here on the screen for things that we think you might enjoy. As always, God bless you, and we'll catch you on the next video.